The first thing to focus on when we're working with the hamstring is the hip to allow more freedom of movement. These exercises are so fundamental, squeezing the glute so that the glute is active while we're exercising. Then we work into glute squeezes and then lift the leg. Separate the two so that you have control. Bridges are a basic exercise, but think about what we just did. Squeeze the glute, then lift your body. Try not to get the hamstring to engage. Clam presses strengthen the glute. Again, don't let your hamstring do any work. Once you can master that, now we can get into a little bit more functional exercises. This mini band series is fantastic for working around the hip, but also working the quads, the hamstrings, the entire leg. First going sideways, then we work on going backwards. This one really targets the hamstring and that whole hip extension movement. This sometimes is what's missing in our athletic endeavor. Next, we do a monster walk going forward, and we're targeting the hip flexor. The hip flexor and the hamstring work together. They have to be treated together. Keep your legs nice and wide here. Take your time and do the exercise well. This cable exercise, as demonstrated before, the hip abduction is working the glutes, but the hamstring has to stabilize and hold the leg up. Hip flexion, we've talked about that psoas muscle being so important. Hip adduction is just working around the entire hip now on the inside. And hip extension, squeeze the glute, lift the leg. Now we're just doing it with resistance. Stretching is so important for around the hip so that the hamstring has a little bit more movement. We don't even have to stretch the hamstring that much. If you do stretch the hamstring, do it very little, very gentle, and only when you're completely pain-free. I like to do all these other stretches instead, which partially stretch the hamstring, but without really putting any stress on the hamstring. Modify these stretches as you need to, make them harder if you need to. Honor your body, honor that hamstring without putting it in any stress. I'm okay if you feel a little bit of stress in your hip through here. This is one of our most common stretches. I love this one. Really opens up the hip. It's easy to do. And if you have any questions about hamstrings, let me know.